Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Tommo, and welcome to my 2024 Singapore Grand Prix post-race Chinwag. Let's talk about it, people. Thank you all for joining me live on YouTube or after the fact on YouTube or audio only, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and video on Spotify as well. If you want to check it out that way, you're welcome to do so. Welcome, IBK, Kev, Jason, William, Zach, Good, Matthew, Patrick, Gabriel, Rayhan, and all of the rest of you. I saw a couple of you say this is a more friendly time for the US viewers. Well, it is. What time is it? It's bang on 10 p.m. UK time in the evening. I'm fully decked out in the white Aston Martin hat I got today. I actually got to watch the race from F1 Arcade today, which was fun, with Ava Trade, with Aston Martin. So thank you very much for having me. Got a nice hat, which is actually... Somehow, I've got a massive head already, and this hat makes my head look even bigger than it already is, which is quite impressive, actually. So well done, Aston Martin. I've got the green and I've got the white one now. But yeah, thank you all for joining, wherever you are in the world once again. Let's talk Singapore. Let's start with a little bit of poll, shall we? Race rating out of 10. All right, give me some... Give me some numbers, live chat, and I'll kind of judge based off your numbers what ones to put in the poll, and then we'll put the poll together. A 3, a 4, a 3, a 3, a 3, a 2. Okay. I'm going to do... I'll do... There's only 4 options, again, on YouTube, which I always complain about. 2 or lower, and that race out of 10. A 3, a 4, or a 5 or above. And again, 5 is average, not 7. 7 is not average. 5 is average, okay? So if you thought this was no better than the average race, but no worse, then put a 5. If you thought it was worse, 4, 3, 2, whatever. We all look for different things in the Grand Prix. Of course, I think Saturday was pretty good. I mean, qualifying around Singapore is always interesting, and it's always exciting because you know just how much these drivers are putting it on the line. And I think certain drivers, more than most, really excelled in qualifying on Saturday. But yeah, let me know your thoughts and feelings. I've stuck the poll out. Currently, 42% of you are giving this a 4 out of 10, 29% a 3, 11% a 2 or lower, 18% a 5 or above. Very, very interesting. Hello, Smarty. Welcome to the stream. Well, my race rating for the 2024 Singapore Grand Prix is a 3. I mean... Lando won by well over 20, almost 30 seconds in the end. It kind of varied, didn't it? It was up to 27 at one stage, and then he obviously could chill out towards the end. Lando could have won by more if he really wanted to. Maybe Max was also, Oscar was close enough behind that Max couldn't pit for fastest lap, which is, I guess, a thing. Another Red Bull driver did that job, which we will get into. And Lando won it at a canter. And Oscar, if he'd have done a better job on Saturday, he should have really been in McLaren 1-2, you got to say. So, all in all, he did well to recover to P3. But it was all Lando Norris, wasn't it? Needed a safety car or two. First time we've ever had a Singapore Grand Prix without a safety car. First time ever. And yes, of course, you had K-Mag grazing the wall and having to pit for a new tyre. You had Alex breaking down, or his engine was overheating. They don't seem to have identified what happened, but his engine was overheating for some reason. But yeah, not much to talk about in terms of, well, talking of near misses, actually, this man right here, he might have won the race, but he gave himself 2 moments where... could have ended very differently, couldn't it? Considering the gap he had for Lando to get as close to crashing as he did twice. Damn. Playing with fire there, buddy. Playing with fire. But 34% of you have given it a 3. 35% a 4. I think it wasn't that exciting. And sometimes that happens. But... to have a good race, to have a banger, sometimes you do have to have a clanger, okay? You have to have a bit of best of both worlds, in life. But yeah, there are 2 significant moments for Lando, but he got it done in the end. Right. So, here's the race result for the 2024. Almost got it 3. Losing track of time. As I get older, these years just go quicker, don't they? Because they're a smaller portion of your life. Yeah, I know, right? Quite deep in it. McLaren won 3. You take it in the end, given Oscar, messed up in qualifying on Saturday. He definitely had the pace to put it front row, but wasn't able to convert. Wasn't able to take 3 points off of Max Verstappen as well. But then George Russell P4, Charles Leclerc P5, given his lap was deleted in qualifying. A pretty good recovery drive from him. Lewis Hamilton P6, started P3. Dropped like a stone, didn't he? I mean, he was on the wrong tyre at the start, let's be real. Put on the soft to try and jump Max at the start. Wasn't able to get the move done and paid the price for it, unfortunately for him. How did VCarb cheat? Oh, we will get into that, won't we? Because you can see, if you can see the graphic, that a certain Mr. Daniel Ricciardo got fastest lap, but did not get the point for it because he, of course, wasn't in the top 10. But he took it off of Lando Norris. Fernando Alonso P8, Nico Hulkenberg P9, Checo Perez from P13 to P10 in the end. So a recovery to a point, but not multiple points. Franco Colapinto, P11, a fantastic drive from him. Got to be said, again, given his experience, a relative lack of. Incredible from Franco. Again, making an impression in his short time in this sport, as he needs to, as he absolutely should. Post-race, he was actually quite, he was quite, not critical of, I think he was quite critical of the team. He felt there was a missed opportunity to maybe sneak into the points here. Good for him, He's got to back himself if he wants to stay in this sport. Get an opportunity, not even stay in this sport. Just actually get a full-time seat in this sport. So fair play to him. Yuki P12. Esteban P13. Lance P14. The Saubers, not last. Not last of the runners. Joe and Bottas. Joe ahead of Bottas as well. Just turn up for a books. I mean, they finished within 0.6 of a second. And basically, Joe was pulling along Bottas with DRS to keep Gasly behind in the battle for P15, 16, and 17. Riveting. And then Daniel Ricciardo pitting at the end for the soft tyre. P18. Took that fastest lap off of Lando Norris. K-Mag, P19, hit the wall. Again, puncture. He was unlucky, to be honest, K-Mag. Many a driver has grazed a wall at Singapore and not been punished in that way. But there you go. And Joe was talking about how he was using Carlos's tactic. Yeah, Joe was using Carlos's tactic for P15 and 16, 17. Not quite P1. Doesn't quite hit the same as Carlos's. But you know what? Fair play to him. He did what he needed to do. And then my darling beloved Alex Albon, after a terrible start, already fallen down to P15 and then retired with a engine overheating issue. Did potentially have a good undercut. He was running right behind Carlos Sainz after the pit stops. So maybe there could have been, if Albon had been able to keep tabs with Sainz, there was absolutely potentially a podium. Look at where Sainz finished. But unfortunately, that was not the case. Damn. Do I have a cap for every single team? Look, if they'll send them to me for free, Fritz, I'll wear them. Okay? I've got no shame. I've got no shame. Okay? If they're free, I'm wearing it. Terrible start. It jumps. Albon was P15 by the end of the first lap, Jason. It was objectively a bad start. But yeah. Game's the game. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. And unfortunately, Alex did not win this time round. That's how the 2024 Singapore Grand Prix finished. Oh, yeah, and Franco's... look, I've watched... I think Franco's dive bomb was... Alex moaned about it on the radio. I was like, bro, what? Franco's got nothing to lose. He's got nothing to lose. And I think he was absolutely entitled to make that move. I think it's completely fine. I think it's completely... Science said it as... Science had a little moan about it as well. He's like, oh, the Williams went down the inside and almost took 3 of us out. But he didn't. I thought it was good. I thought it was good. I thought it was a great job from Franco. Yeah, look, I love Alex, but also that was a bit of a race me hard moment. I got to be honest. I was like, bro, just get on with it, man. You made a solid dive, and it is what it is. Just crack on, son. All right, just crack on. And again, Franco's got nothing to lose, so he absolutely should be going for those opportunities. So, this is how the driver standings sit after that Grand Prix. After 18 of 24 races complete, Max Verstappen still leads the Drivers' Championship by 52 points, is the maths. Thank you, Alex, for the super chat, by the way. Certified Alex, they raced me so hard album thing. Yeah, look, listen. It just takes one little line and the world will clip it up for the rest of time. But again, Franco's got nothing to lose, so he's absolutely entitled to go for that. 52 points now. I mean, he's closed the gap, but not by enough. And for me, this race was absolutely pivotal. And I think Max, for me, now, because I have pretty significant belief that, you know, this upgrade, this update, should I say, in Austin will cure many of the issues that Max is struggling with his car. And they're past. I mean, Red Bull run well in Austin typically, and Mexico, but I think this was the last real stumbling block. I think if Max had finished, out the points and Lando had won, that gap could be a bit dangerous going forward, like for the rest of the year. But I think this is the race where Max secured the championship. My belief in McLaren winning the championship and Lando Norris winning the drivers, should I say, the constructors, is a done deal, of course. But I think this was it. This is where Max got it done. This is where Max absolutely got it done. Big drive from him today. Piastri closes the gap to Leclerc, of course, finished ahead of him. So that is now 8 points between Oscar and Charles. So could be looking at a McLaren 2-3 by the end of the season. We do have a change of position as well. Nico Hülkenberg with his 2 points is level now with Lance Stroll, both on 24. But Hülkenberg, a better finishing result, is ahead of Lance in the driver's standards. That is the only position to change. I know that because, of course, I have to update these graphics manually. So that is the only one that I needed to change for the driver's standings. As for the team standings, Bosch. No change in position, however, has to close that gap to Racing Bulls to just 3 points, 31 points to 34. McLaren extend their lead at the front of the constructors to 41 points. That is a done deal. As done deals go, that is absolutely signed, sealed, delivered. Ferrari catching Red Bull. Yeah, again, it comes down to Austin, doesn't it? Even if Austin goes well, they're not catching Red Bull in constructors, as far as I'm concerned. But Ferrari, I mean, the thing is, Sainz crashed kind of on his own. He got a bit caught out, he said, by he was letting cars past and didn't quite have the temperature he was expecting, hence why he spun and hit the wall in quite a... Well, it wasn't very Vamos, was it? Sainz putting it in the wall in qualifying. And then Leclerc, of course, got his lap time deleted, which he was frustrated with at the time, but since and post-race today was very much like, you know what, actually, I was more on me. I let myself down, messed up at the start of his push lap, and of course got the time deleted. So, yeah, I feel like Ferrari didn't show their full hand. Considering how close Charles was to George by the end, absolutely P4 and 5 is where they should have been, minimum. Maybe higher. And I think Ferrari, honestly, I think they were the second quickest car today behind the McLaren. And I think Max just did an incredible job getting that P2. I do. Especially around Singapore as well. Look, given where Red Bull were, it looked bad. And for Max to pull that result out of the bag, that's why he's going to be a 4-time world champion. Absolutely. He just drives like today. He might not win the race, but it's big. So, what about predictions? How did we predict? Both me, myself, and I, and you, yourself, and you. Well, we did the live stream on Wednesday. So thank you to everyone who joined me on Wednesday for the pre-race Chinwag. Starting with mine, it's not great. Charles Leclerc, race winner, wrong. Banger drive Fernando Alonso. I'm giving myself a point, not just because I'm wearing an Aston Martin Formula 1 team cap. Maybe in part. Q3, again, barely saw him all race, but good undercut, got ahead of Nico Hulkenberg, got good points, P8 in the end. As banger drives go, I think he's absolutely up there. Very good race from Fernando. What more could he have done? It's one of them, innit? Clanger drive Max, absolutely not. Couldn't be further from the truth. Banger team Ferrari. I mean, look, I think it's more on the drivers, the mistakes on Saturday for sure. But ultimately, you know, they finished fourth and wherever Sainz finished. No, they didn't finish fourth. Charles finished fifth. Sainz finished seventh, didn't he? Yeah, they were either side of Lewis. There's a Mercedes, Ferrari. So, but not banger team Ferrari. Come on, no way. And then Clanger team Red Bull. No, I think given what was expected going into this weekend and what they got as a team out of it in terms of Max's Drivers' Championship first and foremost, but also from a constructor's point of view, because they still, with Max finishing where he did, hang on, let me check. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they outscored Ferrari because I'm sure it was a 31-point gap before this race, and now it's the 34-point gap. I'm sure you'll correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. So 1 out of 5 for the predictions this time out for me. Not my best work, but as you all know, far from my worst. Okay, it could have been a lot worse than that. We're going backwards hat for a bit because this hat is actually it's quite tight on my head. My head's too massive. That's the problem. Too much wheel knowledge. Right. As for your predictions, honestly, you lot, not much better. Race winner Lando Norris, well done. You did predict that. 36% of you went for Lando and he did win the race. Banger drive Charles Leclerc. No. Wasn't a bad drive, but he did damage on Saturday. And he put his hands up to that. Clanger drive Max, no. Banger team Ferrari, no. Red Bull, Clanger, no. I am the boss. Look at that, boss. Didn't even notice that. So yeah, you know what? Between us, many an L was taken. Many an L. Let's flip this back around. I think it looks better, but it's such a big cap. I feel like I'm wearing a hard hat. It's like my yellow Ferrari cap. That's like a hard hat as well. But there you go. Right, cool, excellent, amazing. Predictions washed. But what about the bangers and clangers for the actual race? Well, let's get to it. My banger driver for the 2024 Singapore Grand Prix. You've got a few honourable mentions. Franco Colapinto. Great job. Checo was waxing lyrical about Franco, by the way. He's like, this guy's good, I can't get past him. Which, of course, you know, if you can't get past someone, you're going to say they're good. But given the relative inexperience, he didn't hit the wall and damage his car. Well, he did graze the wall, but didn't do what K-Mag did. Could have been on for points. Great send at the start. I thought there was nothing wrong with that. And I think Carlos and Alex were crying for no reason about it. He's up there, definitely. I think Fernando's got to be up there as well. Very quiet race, but absolutely maximised, I think, the result. And then, of course, Lando Norris to win by the margin he did. He did come very close on 2 occasions in particular to ending it all for absolutely no reason, which was crazy. But he didn't, which is kind of what matters, right? You flirt with the edge, and he very much flirted with the edge, but didn't go over it. But for me, my banger driver in Singapore was Max. I think going into this weekend, the expectations around Red Bull and that car and this track, and then you go into Friday practice and it's really nowhere. He's really struggling with it. And the turnaround, Max's Q2 lap, for me, was the lap of qualifying. Because I remember watching qualifying and we saw this full lap from him. And I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, I'm pretty sure it was the one where he got that snap and he almost put it in the wall. I'm sure it was the end of the tight left-hander, one of the kind of hairpins in him. And he did a 0.6. It was like a 29.6, I think. Absolutely on the raggedy edge, okay? And that's what Max needed to do in Q3 again to get. But that Q2 lap was incredible, I thought. So good. To get that P2, that Red Bull, where it is, where I don't think it was the second, I think third quickest car. To do what he did with Lando, it looked ominous from day dot, right? From FP1, Lando was just cooking, right? And it's like, bro, this is like a maximum points. Max needs to be there to capitalize. He capitalized where Oscar couldn't, where Charles and Carlos let themselves down. And this is the drive that I think really does kind of get his championship over the line as far as I'm concerned. So I thought that was so impressive from Max, what he did, particularly on Saturday. But even on Sunday, of course he didn't jump Lando, but Lando didn't have a bad start for once and kept Lewis behind and just drove his own race. And again, in a Red Bull that just hasn't been up for it, Max did what he had to do with the context of the championship as well. I think it was unbelievable. So, and again, these are the drives that he doesn't win the race or whatever, right? But this is what gets the championship over the line. It's drives exactly like when you know that car doesn't suit that track, yet he maximizes it. And you look at where Checo was and how little progress he was able to make on the back of what happened in Baku, where Checo did to Max what Max always does to Checo. Top tier. So well done, Max. But what about you lot? 1,234. That's nice. 1, 2, 3, 4. Have you voted? So thank you for voting. Make sure you like, subscribe to the Tommo YouTube channel, of course, if you're watching, wherever you are, whatever, if you're live, or if you're after the fact. Or of course, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, if you're watching on Spotify as well, you can watch this in video format on Spotify. But make sure you follow me on Twitter as well. That's all my F1. If you want to get involved in these polls. But YouTube community is the place to go, okay? That is the place to go. My huge chin could kill a bee. Do you reckon, Fritz? Do you reckon? I reckon I could kill a bee under that. I wouldn't want to. A bee's great. What? I don't like wasps. No, I'd kill a wasp with my chin. Gladly. Did I watch the City Arsenal match? You know what? I didn't. But I did hear about the score. I'm not going to spoil it for anyone who's not watched the game. But yeah, shenanigans. Chaos. So your Bayer drive for the 2024 Singapore Grand Prix is Lando Norris. 41% of the vote. Pretty dominant. As dominant as his display was on track. And you know what? Of course, pole position, race win, fastest lap, if not for Daniel Ricciardo, if not for Red Bull owning two teams, if not for this probably being his last race in Formula One, which is the way it's been handled is just absolutely embarrassing as far as I'm concerned, but we will get into that. 41% Lando, 13% Franco Colapinto, 10% Charles Leclerc, 10% Max Verstappen as well. Nico Hulkenberg also got 10% of the vote, but slightly less than Max. So shout out Nico. Fair play. No. I mean, Leclerc had a good race. He had a bad quali, but he recovered well in the race. He did. Where's Kvyat? What is this? 2017. Right. What about clanger drive? Who had the clangingest of them all? The stinkiest of the stinkers. Real talk. It's Checo, as far as I'm concerned. Max maximised in a car that wasn't so suited to this track, right? But ultimately, Checo didn't do enough in qualifying. P13 out in Q2 in the Red Bull, even if it's the third quickest car, is not good enough. And just you look at the recovery of Charles and Carlos in the race. Checo spent so long the gearbox of Franco Colapinto, and Couldn't get past Nico. Couldn't make an impression in the race. Not good enough. It's a real quandary, isn't it, that Red Bull find themselves in with their drivers, because if they are going to lose Max Verstappen to Aston Martin or Mercedes, and Christian Horner talking about, oh, well, we'd consider George if he became available, maybe a straight swap. Mercedes, George for Max. This just, Max and Checo as teammates doesn't work. It never did work. It never will work, because they have fundamentally opposed driving styles. If you're going to have two drivers that you want a differential in pace, but you need them to have the same driving styles. Otherwise, you develop a car that works for one and doesn't work for the other, and then that gap will just grow. So, yeah, it wasn't good from Sergio. And you lot agree. 28% of you went for Sergio for clanger drive. 19% Lance Stroll. Out in Q1. Didn't really make any impression in the race. You look at Fernando getting to Q3. Once again, it's Stroll or Checo for clanger. I think that's the kind of clear and obvious vote. Yeah, just not good enough. Look at what Fernando did in that race. Got to P8, jumped Hulkenberg, and Stroll just making no impetus. Shame. 13% Daniel Ricciardo. It's Q1, man. They had pace, didn't they? They had pace, the Racing Bulls. And then just, you look at how Yuki managed to get to Q3. And it was Q3, wasn't it, Yuki? I'm sure he was. And Daniel out in Q1. Just bad. Just a shame. A real shame. We'll get onto the Ricciardo talk. We'll make a section for Ricciardo talk later on. Okay. And then Alex Albon, again, but bad start. You know, just missed out massively. It was a bit unfortunate, but whatever. Like, it happens. And car breaks down. Clang. Okay, what about banger team? For me, it's easy. It's McLaren. For you, it's easy. It's McLaren. 87% of you went for McLaren. 5% Ferrari, 3% Haas. No other team got a meaningful enough score to include. P1, P3. McLaren kind of held up their end of the bargain. I think Oscar let himself down. In qualifying, he was very disappointed with himself. His lap in Q2 was significantly quicker than his lap in Q3 that he managed. And he should have been higher up. He should have been able to take points off Max. He wasn't. But in terms of McLaren, in terms of from a team point of view, pretty good. Pretty good. And then Clanger team, honestly, there wasn't a team, because, like, for example, so Yuki finished quite well, Ricciardo didn't. Hulkenberg finished quite well, Magnussen didn't. Alonso finished quite well, Stroll didn't. Like, there wasn't a clear, like, double, apart from, obviously, Sauber. But for me, honestly, I've gone Alpine. They were just, like, as much as Ocon finished 13th, like, Gasly was all at sea. He finished behind both Saubers. Bro, he didn't even, like, at least Magnussen hit the wall, and that's why he finished behind both Saubers. You can't finish behind both Saubers and get away with it, okay? And Gasly's not washed. He's actually a good driver, but I think he was very unhappy post-race, very unhappy. And, yeah. I mean, you could give it to V-Carb as well. You could give it to Sauber, obviously. That's the default vote. Like you have, 32% of you went for Sauber as the Clanger team. 29% Racing Bulls, V-Carbohydrate. 13% Alpine. 11% Mercedes. Mercedes, man. Jeez. So inconsistent. So painfully inconsistent. Jesus Christ, it's absolutely insane how inconsistent they are. Clang. Absolute clang. 11% of you think so. Right. Got a few super chats. Let me just quickly get through then. So thank you very much for supporting what I do. I do appreciate it. Thank you, Jibril, for the $2 Aussie. Why so many tracks that overtaking is so very hard? Well, you know what? I'm glad they added that fourth DRS zone, because that actually seemed to foster more overtakes than, maybe I'm wrong, but from what I saw, there were more overtakes in that part of the track than there were anywhere else. So well done Singapore for adding that at least. I just, I don't think it was a dull race, and maybe because of Singapore, because you kind of can overtake around Singapore. It's hard, but you can do it. It's just, when you got someone winning by such a margin, and then, such a margin between Max and Piastri, and then such a margin from Piastri to George, and Leclerc caught George by the end, but didn't get the move done. It just wasn't very captivating, was it? It's a cool venue. I'd love to go to Singapore for the race. That's up there on my list, But is what it is. I mean, they've improved the track somewhat, but I think this is more of a product of... I reckon next year will be better. I mean, first time ever no safety car as well, which obviously a lot of people were going for. Lewis was hoping for a safety car starting in the softs. The Saubers are always hoping for a safety car, as long as they're not the one causing it, of course. And, yeah, tough. Thank you, Alex, again for the super chat. Certified Alex raced me so hard moment. Very good. Love that. Daniel, thank you for the super chat. Hi, Tomo. Thanks for your streams. Thank you, Daniel, for watching them. Thoughts on Alonso Newey duo for 26? Could Alonso win his third championship at 45 years old? Could he? Absolutely. Would it come easily? Absolutely not. If Aston Martin give him a car that can be competitive at the front, will Alonso be able to go toe-to-toe with Charles and Max and Lewis and George and Oscar and Lando? 100%. I mean, you would expect that the start of a new regulation cycle, the field spread should be quite significant. So it really does depend on how well Aston Martin nail these regs. And why I'm not fully sold, I guess, on the Newey influence is that in 2022, when these ground effect regulations was the first time we saw ground effect since, the 80s, Newey was an expert because he'd experienced the cars back then. He'd done his thesis, hadn't he, on ground effect aerodynamics. So he, in that moment, in that time, in 2021, when they're developing these cars for 22, Newey's knowledge was unique because he was one of very few aerodynamicists and engineers and visionaries in these Formula One teams who'd experienced ground effects. And Red Bull, for Red Bull, that paid dividends, right? He understood the importance of the suspension and, porpoising and saw these things come in and was able to develop a car that became, the RB19, one of the most dominant F1 cars of all time. Going into 26, these are still going to be ground effects regulations, and I don't believe that, Newey will carry that same almost like cheat code at the start, right? Being like, oh, I'm the guy who understands, and no one else has, in modern Formula One, has really experienced ground effects. Everyone's been developing ground effect cars for the last, 3 years. So I don't think he's going to offer that same magic bullet effect that he did for Red Bull going into 22, but I do still think that his presence and the influence that will have on the broader team, having this kind of Galactico signing that is Adrian Newey, alongside Andy Cowell and alongside all of these other, Enrico Cardile from Ferrari as well. You've got so many people who've come into Aston Martin, but can they make them work? I was listening to Eddie Jordan and David Coulthard's podcast, and I'm sure I can't remember who said it, but it's a really good analogy. It's like PSG, if you follow football. If you don't, you won't know what I'm talking about. But PSG, with Neymar and Mbappe and Messi, and it's like but they never won a Champions League because making all of these highly competent components work together is another challenge in itself. Can Adrian, because it seems like he does have the autonomy and the seniority to get this team built up in his own, in what he wants it to be. But will those components all work together? Time will tell. It's my long drawn out answer to your question. But thank you, Daniel, for your support. Appreciate it. Thank you, Si. Congratulations to Ricciardo on a very good career. If it's over 258 races, 8 wins, 32 podiums, 3 great poles, etc. Daniel. And thank you, Tommy, as well. Love Danny Rick, but if he's not getting that Red Bull seat, there's no reason to keep him at Racing Bulls. Very excited for Lawson to get his shot. Right, let's talk about him then. Let's talk about a certain Mr. Daniel Ricciardo, and why, for me, it's just been very awkward this weekend, hasn't it? It's been so awkward. And for me, an ending unbefitting of Daniel Ricciardo. I don't get it, right? These teams know that this news, they're like sieves, these teams. There's always people who will spill the beans to journalists and to whatever, right? It's a closed circus. Everyone moves around. Everyone knows everyone. And this news is going to get out there. For Red Bull to not announce this on Thursday or Friday or even Saturday after he went out in Q1, to not just be like, well, Daniel's not going to be in the car next year. Sorry, not next year. He's not going to be in the car in Austin for the rest of the season. He's being dropped. What? Can anyone in the live chat give me a reason as to why? Because I don't, like, personally, right? Do I think it's, given what we've seen from Colapinto and what we saw from Lawson, do I think Daniel deserves that seat? Probably not, no. And I don't think he's done enough. Deserved, right? On merit, sporting merit. So do I object fundamentally to him being dropped for Liam Lawson? I don't. But the way they've kind of gone about it, and it's just all been this like, oh, what? Sky Sports are showing him a highlight reel of his career. I was literally like, when Simon Lazenby pulled up this highlight reel of his career with Jamie Chadwick and Nico Rosberg, and I'm like, so he's leaving then? Just announce it so that you don't have to have this awkward like, oh, here's a guard of honour in case you might be leaving. Here's a highlight reel in case you might be leaving. Oh, I hope we see you in Austin in case you might. Bro, why? Can anyone tell me? They're trying to give him a chance. What? Sorry, right? One race in Singapore should not change the outcome of whether Daniel stays or goes. Okay, I'm sorry, right? If Daniel came into Singapore, right, and put it in Q3 and had a worldie of a race, that should not change the decision that Red Bull are making. You don't make a decision over one race. That's ridiculous, right? This is 18th race now, right? Red Bull should have plenty of information to make a decision on whether they want him or not. There's clearly been this communication because everyone's talking about it as if it's true. Be that Sky, be that F1 themselves, be that, right? Every journalist in the paddock is like, it's happening. He knows it. You can see it from the way, like, bro, just say, even on Saturday, even after qualifying on Saturday, just be like, okay, we put out a statement. Daniel won't be in the car from Austin. This will be his final Grand Prix for Racing Bulls. And then just let him, like, just deal with the media and all the talk in a way that can be just there. Yeah. And it's so awkward. It's so awkward. It was very uncomfortable, right? Like, it's just unnecessarily uncomfortable as far as I'm concerned. And look, again, that's not like Daniel, it's going to be difficult for him to accept, right? Regardless. But I think they just made it a hell of a lot worse with the way it's just been like, oh, maybe you're going, but maybe you're not. So hopefully we see you in Austin. But if not, then here's a highlight reel with your best. Like, bro, I'm just, what is this? It's so silly. Lang, what are you talking about? It shouldn't be, but it. Why are you ignoring that even smaller things have kept people in a seat like Checo? Why are you acting so blind to how the business works? What do you mean? What do you mean? They've had 18 races to evaluate Daniel Ricciardo whether he's good enough for the Red Bull seat or not. This one isolated race in Singapore should not make a difference, and the fact that it's already been communicated before the race, like. It's the fact that these rumours exist, and they're not even rumours. They're reported as being true. Like, basically, they're showing him a highlight reel, for crying out loud. Like, the fact that this is all coming out and everyone's talking about it as if it's a given clearly means that there is these aren't just like whispers. These aren't just, oh, maybe he's out. Like, it's being reported. It's being shown to him. He's talking as if I'm probably done here. Sorry, I did nibble. I did nibble back. I'm sorry. It's just crazy. It's just crazy to me. But anyway, do I think Daniel deserves to stay in F1? Probably not. No, I don't. I don't think he's done enough. But also, I would love to know. I would love to know how Daniel would have done in that Red Bull. Because, you know, I think Lawson would do a better job than Checo because he's green. He can jump in. He's not got as learned a style as Checo. And I think there's a bigger chance that Lawson's driving style works with that Red Bull relative to Checo's. And that driving style argument, which is what Checo's talked about, mine and Max's driving styles are different. Max's driving style did not bring up these problems I've felt since Barcelona last year, and only now Max is starting to struggle with the car. I think based off of the past and based off the fact that Ricciardo and Max were driving the same car in 2018 to very similar levels, I think Ricciardo would have done a better job in this current Red Bull than Checo, but it looks like we'll never know. And I could be wrong. That's just what I think. Yuki Tsunoda, who knows? Who knows? Yuki can drive that RB. Can he drive the Red Bull? There's no guarantees of anything, is there? Got Ricciardo going into McLaren. Everyone, myself included, thought he'd smash it. Didn't. There's been many a driver over the years who've gone into a team and not adapted to the car underneath them, and that's what makes drivers like Carlos Sainz, Fernando Alonso so impressive, because whatever they jump into turns to gold. Turns to gold. Sad times. Right. Team by team. Oh. Bosh. Alpine. Alpine, I've got very little to say about Alpine. Sort it out. Gasly not very happy. Felt like he wasn't prioritised. Finished behind both Saubers, which is never a good day in the office. Aston Martin, well done, Fernando. Not good enough, Lance Stroll. Although Fernando's definitely switched it on since Adrian got announced. So maybe that's the little bit of fire under the belly that he needed. Because he had a bit of a rough period, didn't he, Fernando, in the middle of this season. But he's recovered. He had like 3 really good races in a row now. Ferrari, again, drivers let themselves down, I think, on Saturday more than anything else. Recovered well. Should have been a 4-5 probably. Max did a great job again. Not bad. Just, I mean, tyre warm up is proving problematic, because it was tyre warm up for Charles, wasn't it, that caught him out in Baku, because obviously he had a really big gap to Oscar, but then it took him so long to get his tyres warmed up, and then obviously by the time he did. And that's maybe part of the reason why he didn't defend against Oscar as much as he could have, because he didn't want to take anything out of the tyres, because he was really struggling to get them up to temperature. But yeah, good drive, recovery drive in the end. Haas, well done Haas. Again, Kevin Magnussen, yeah. Would Behrman have done a better job than Magnussen? Definitely maybe. Isn't that Oasis? It is, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, would he have got a point? Ollie, probably not. Maybe. Hulkenberg did a good job, but he was on it. He was on it in qualifying. I would had a few little wobbles, but typically speaking, he's still very much in my top 10 drivers of the year. Well done, Haas. Very good. And catching racing balls, who weren't so good. Yuki, I think... Yuki had again, bad start from Yuki, which really cost him, actually. So big down points for that. But yeah, he wanted to be let past Ricciardo in the end, which was, that's fair. He was on the quicker tyre and yeah, just didn't convert. They really needed to convert because they were looking so good in practice. And now it's like only 3 points between them and Haas. Williams have got good momentum. They didn't maximise this weekend either. They seem to have a quicker package, Williams, than Racing Bulls typically. So yeah, Racing Bulls, not so good. Not so good. Sauber, washed. Williams, again, Colapinto, well done. Lovely jubbly. Very much putting himself in the frame for something half decent, you know. I feel like, I don't know, if you're, actually, you know what? Let's do a little poll. I can just do a poll, can't I? If you were Mattia Bernal with the hair, who would you sign alongside Hulk for 2025? So I'm going to give options. I'm going to give you Bottas. I'm going to give you Bortoletto. Oh, that is a Minton who's just entered the room. I'm going to give you a Colapinto. I'm going to give you an other option. I'm going to give you 4 options while I pick my dog up. Come on. Come say hello to your loving, loyal, adoring fans. And I should probably put Sauber on the screen while we're talking about Sauber, right? That kind of makes sense. Look at him. Look at him. Hello. How are we doing, buddy? How are we doing? Yeah, you good? You good? Yeah. What do you think of Colapinto, Bortoletto, or Bottas? What are you thinking? Any suggestions? No. Any insight to give? No. It's conscientious objector. He decides I'm not going to get involved in the stream today. I'm just gonna sit here, being all sleepy. Mwah. Right. I'll put you down then. I'll put you down. Right, what are we saying in the poll? Come on, let's have a look. Okay, 20% of you have gone Bottas, 23% Bortoletto, 48% Colapinto, 10% other. Look, the thing that is in in Colapinto's corner is that he is doing it. Like Bortoletto, it's potential, but he had a run in an old McLaren car in Austria, I want to say, maybe a couple of weeks ago. But he's not done an FP1 yet. He should absolutely be doing an FP1. That'd be cool if Bortoletto does an FP1 for McLaren in Sao Paulo. That'd be great. You know, I potential is a dangerous word, isn't it? And Colapinto is making himself a known entity and is making himself an unavoidable factor. Even though you look at his, F2 career and F3, and it was good, but it certainly not setting the world alight. But it just makes you think, doesn't it? How many, like your ability in junior formulas, it will never correlate 100% to then how you will do in more senior formulas. You see Oscar, you see you see Charles, you see George, you see Max, you see certain drivers who just every junior formula they're in, they smash it, but not all of them. And there's a lot of factors. There's teams, there's budget, there's all this stuff, and without this opportunity, Colapinto's never being looked at seriously. Like you look at his F2s, I believe he was 6th at the time when he got plucked out of F2 and put in the F1 seat instead of Logan. And we'll just never know, won't we? There'll be so many drivers that we'll just never know. How would a Zane Maloney do, for example? He's part of the Sauber Academy already and he's 3rd in F2. He was ahead of Colapinto. But it doesn't look like he's going to get the opportunity. Tao Pourchaire won it. But then maybe Sauber don't see the data that suggests that he's much of a step up on Bottas or Zhou. I don't know, but Paul Aaron, Paul Aaron's a good example. Formula One teams just need to make a decision based upon who they think is going to be the right driver, not necessarily who deserves it most, right? Because, we want this to be a meritocracy, ultimately, but also, even in F2, these are spec cars, but it's not an equal playing field because certain teams have a better understanding of these cars than others, and certain drivers bring budget. Like that Coulin fella who could barely turn a wheel and managed to get an F2. You know, it happens. We need 12 teams. Absolutely, that'd be great. But yeah, 49% of you think Franco Colapinto. You would sign Franco alongside Hulkenberg. Because, look, Hulkenberg brings so much experience, so there is definitely an argument that having a mixture, a blend, old and new, bit of Hulk, bit of Colapinto, lovely jubbly. Bortoletto, 21%, Bottas, 22%, 8% other. Yeah, you know full well Audi would have slapped their logo on that car if they were cooking. But they couldn't be any further from that right now, could they? It's actually quite sad. Audi needs 2 drivers with experience. I mean, look, Burko, there's definitely an argument for that, 100%. But also, I think we're seeing from Behrman and Colapinto and Lawson that is experience a bit overrated, maybe in modern F1? Are these young drivers more prepared than ever, even though they don't have the unlimited testing miles that they used to? They have, simulator sessions to like crazy. They can run old cars now. They can run ground effect cars. The 2022 cars that they're allowed to run now, they can run 2023 cars next year. Maybe experience is a bit overrated now. Perhaps. Daniel's very experienced and jumped into that Racing Bulls, and unfortunately it looks like his time in F1's over. So, and also, look, if Colapinto Red Bull, I mean, Christian, look, you've got Lawson there, but Lawson ain't going to shift Red Bull cans. Not in the way Franco Colapinto could. That's all I'm saying. That is all I'm saying. Williams, I've already said my piece on Williams. Bit unlucky, but bit mid and all. Yeah, it's just weird, Red Bull, isn't it? Like how Checo can... Singapore is a track that he's typically run pretty well at, but Baku flying and... No, but I think that Baku result gives Checo something, and it gives that Baku result gives a little bit of benefit of doubt that, okay, there is clearly something with this car that isn't quite right, because that flip in absolute performance, I mean, that would be like Stroll dunking on Fernando, which has never happened, by the way. He's beat Fernando before. He's out qualified Fernando before, but absolutely done. That's not normal what happened in Baku, even though Checo likes that track. It's not like Max just forgot how to drive. So there's a benefit of doubt there, but again, I said it in my video. I do think Checo cooked in the 2020 Racing Point the pink Mercedes. If Checo had gone to Mercedes instead of to Red Bull, not that he ever would have, of course, like, that would have been weird, but because Russell was always going to be the one taking that seat. But I'm saying I think Checo would have done a much better job in 2021 driving the Mercedes than he did in 2021 driving the Red Bull, because I think that Mercedes would have fit his driving style much better, because he cooked in the clone in 2020. But again, it depends on what car is put underneath you, and if it's not going to fit your style, and of course, why would Red Bull push the car development in Checo's style? Max is doing all the women? Max is doing all the winning. No, Max is, I'm sure, is in his very happy relationship. Oh, that was a bit of a slip of the tongue, wasn't it? Anyway, moving on. Mercedes just weirdly inconsistent. I mean, as much as Ferrari didn't really turn up this weekend, they recovered, and they're not as inconsistent as Mercedes. So, all in all, I think, Lewis should be very satisfied with his move, and good luck, Kimi Antonelli, because that Mercedes, I mean... But then come 2025, you've got this 3-week break now, which isn't even, like, the teams aren't actually... This is the difference, right? This 3 weeks we've got between Grand Prix now, the teams can work because there's no, ban that everyone has to stay at home. Unlike the summer break. So these teams can put stuff together. They can get their heads down and work on changes and fixes and upgrades. And that's why I believe, that Red Bull will find an update that can get Max confident enough in the car that it will podium for the rest of the season. No doubt. But yeah, Mercedes, they've got 2026 to worry about, haven't they? 2026. And then finally, McLaren. I mean, no papaya rules necessary because Oscar messed up in qualifying, and Lando again delivered the sauce. But my goodness, Lando, why are you almost crashing twice when you're like 20 seconds ahead? Like the first one, like is bad. Like he hits the front wing. He literally does cause damage to the front wing. So he's very lucky. Very lucky. Carries on. Boom. Bro, when he hit his rear right on that, exactly where George did it last year. And I'm sure George said last year that Lando glanced it and then he just glanced it a little bit more. Bro. No, I'm sorry, Mia, that doesn't wash, right? Bro. Oh, God. When I saw it, I was like, no, Lando, what are you, like, please, no, like, not like that, okay? If you're gonna, if you're gonna have an incident and it's gonna deny the championship or whatever in wheel to wheel, whatever, but oh my God, it was so close to being an absolute disaster. And there's been so much, he's been catching so much heat, right? And again, like, it's fine to criticize drivers. Some people just take it way over the line because they feel emboldened by the anonymity that social media gives you. And, unfortunately, it brings out the worst in people, right? It's sport at the end of the day. It's never that deep, right? And if that had happened, wow, that would have just been horrific. He was so close. It was fine, but it was absolutely borderline. Damn. But in the end, big points delivered, important points delivered. There's not a driver's championship. I think Max sorted that today. But, yeah. Do you not like the hat, Noodles? Do you not like the hat? That's a shame. That is a shame. People still only talk about the negatives. Panzer, that's so interesting. So I've only spoken about the negatives relative to Lando. See, that's the difference, right? Because with social media, like, people will just jump on the negatives. However, when, I'm doing a live stream and I'm talking for almost an hour, you can talk about everything. You can discuss everyone's positives and negatives. Did Lando almost crash twice and was very lucky to not cause more damage to his car when he hit the front wing? Yes, he was, objectively. That is true. Did he also put pole position and win the race in dominant fashion? Of course he did. Both can be true. Both can be very true. But that is the nuance of me doing this on YouTube instead of just Twitter brain rot. Thank you, Jabril. Replace Bottas with a younger driver. He's mid at the moment. It's very hard to rate Bottas, though, isn't it? Surely, like, it's very difficult to actually know where him and Joe are. Very difficult. But look, again, if Bottas lost his seat, I mean, I think there's a new generation coming through, and I think, again, guys like Franco and Ollie are proving that you can jump in and be quick. But we need more teams. That's a realistic one, don't we? We need more teams. But yeah, right, cool. I think I'm going to wrap it there. We're just about to hit an hour. Thank you all for joining. Thank you all for watching, wherever you are in the world. I do appreciate you all taking the time. Bill, Grug, Cyan, Fritz, FPL, Noah, Matthew, Tyler, Burko, Jake, CFH4, Andrew, RB, F404, FPL, Rafa, Tom, FH4, Halita, Xavier, Burko, Tushar, Simbru, Daniel, Lillian, Charlene, Patrick, Sploder, William, Siobhan, FH4, North Face, Zero, Levi, Vlad, Black Fritz, Brandon, Pit Lane, PH02, The Weird Vision Guy, Certec, Thomas, Illusion, Awkward, Pick of the Day, Charlie, Rosa, Jakey, It's been a pleasure. My name's Tommo. Thanks again. Have a good one. Ta-da. Goodbye.